This episode of Super Pulp Science is brought to you by Honeydill Comics. You can find us online at iamhoneydill.com.
Attention, citizens. It's time for Super Pulp Science.
This is Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made. We're here with a very special guest and a very long-suffering co-host. Which one of you wants to introduce yourself first?
I'm not GMB Kamichuk.
They know who you aren't. I'm
Justin
GMB
Curry of
Kamichuk.
Chasing Artwork.
Hi there. I'm Ryan Harvey of Honeydill, I suppose.
Of Honeydill. So you are a confectionery sauce?
Yeah, actually, I'm a dipping sauce that works well with chicken fingers, yam fries. Some people will go as crazy as to put it on a salad.
So many people don't know about honey dill sauce, though.
That's
like
so
a
true.
very. Is it just
pretty
Canadian or Manitoban?
I like to say it's Manitoban. I'm just
think
kind of
it's
like
richly
talking,
Manitoban.
talking a little jive about that, but
Maybe we just want to imagine that we're that impressive. Why don't we talk about what Honeydill really is to you? Not the delicious dipping sauce that international
I really
listeners
want chicken
should
fingers
definitely
now,
try.
Honey dill sauce.
oh, this is not a food podcast.
This is not. No, we've tricked you. Ryan Harvey is the mastermind, architect slash
I like that. Czar.
czar of the webcomic Honeydill, which you may or may not have heard of. If you haven't, you should immediately Google Honeydill. We'll wait. Tell us about your journey to webcomics fame.
Webcomics fame. Well, I'll tell you about my journey to webcomics. I've been doing comics like in comic strip form for a long time. Like everybody will say something like since high school or earlier, but I've had this interesting kind of career journey where I've found a way to do comic strips in just almost every job that I've had since I was maybe 22 or so.
Like working them into your job description?
Yeah.
Like figuring out a way to say, hey, you know what would be a great solution to this graphic design problem?
Yes.
A comic book.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
something similar to that. Yeah. Or even just doing extra work when no one is paying me to make comic strips. Like for a while, I was an editor in a newspaper, and there was a comic strip section of the newspaper, and I'm like, well, I'm going to make those. No one's paying me to do it, but I'm going to make them because they can be printed and put in a paper.
You have the power to get yours in there too.
Yeah, exactly. Isn't that fun?
So hold on. Your first comics you just put into the paper that you were managing?
Yes. Well, I wasn't managing at first.
You make comics.
You betcha.
Now full time.
Now full time, yeah. So I made comics at a newspaper. I made comics at an advertising agency, and starting about 3 years ago, I was making web comics and putting them online.
Name drop some of those for people.
It was some of the comics that I made.
Yeah.
Well, they're all Honeydill comics.
So yeah.
But they have
various.
They have various like brands, like the King of Pie stuff, and
Well, that was just like one particular strip.
that's what I mean, though.
But
right?
at like one point, you made the Honeydill website and started posting there regularly.
Yeah.
And started to gain a following and.
Yes.
Yeah.
Starting in 2015 was the first time that I was just putting anything online, just trying to make jokes that were like, I don't know, kind of influenced by a combination of like Gary Larson and Kate Beaton kind of thing. Like just take
Good
20 to
influences to
30
have.
years of like strip material and kind of just try and do my own thing. Yeah, and so it's been about 3 years or so now that I've been putting stuff online, and it's funny, like I do have a following online of people who follow the comic, but it did take a while. Like there was a long time where I was posting stuff, and it was hard to tell how many people were seeing it and what the reaction was. And for a while in the beginning too, I was kind of really seeing what I was doing at all.
Right.
Like
Why? There's so many questions I have that I want to unpack in that. why did you keep going if you weren't sure if anyone was watching? And why did you do it in public if you weren't sure if anyone was watching? Could you not have developed that craft on your own?
I wonder. I mean, part of it is stubbornness, for sure. Where you know what kind of your goal is and what you want to be doing with most of your time, and you know that there's a learning and evolution process to that. And so I guess as your work is evolving, you're kind of trying to take whatever positives out of each piece that you're doing to try and get it to that place.
So as far distilling the idea down and finding what works. Comedy's so hard, though. What are your indicators there?
Yeah, I guess comedy is, I don't know if comedy, sure, it's hard. But for me, getting used to what I feel is this format is just kind of, it's not just comedy, but it's just kind of being, adhering and respecting the format in a way that is, so that you understand how even non-comedic, like small strips work.
Right. But okay, so coming back around to what I was getting at before, which I did not articulate properly, Honey Dill is almost like an anthology series because you have things like King of Pies and Me Versus Me and like
It's not all like these Garfield and John every strip.
Yeah, it's not every. There's these different sort of flavors and beats and tones, and you know what kind of, or at least if you read it semi-regularly, you say, oh, it's one of these types of jokes, or if it's one of those types of jokes.
Yeah.
How did you come across that as a? Why don't you have John and Garfield every day doing the same thing?
I do wonder that sometimes, why I don't have John and Garfield. I don't know. I guess it's going back partly to that stubbornness where I kind of want to be able to just do something kind of on a whim, even if it is completely divorced from some characters that I was using like a week ago or a couple weeks ago. I don't know. I'm of two minds about it because I really love character comics. Like it's so rewarding.
So for the dear listener, unpack that, what that means. Character comics.
Oh, so like if you follow a comic strip, well, an easy one is just say Calvin and Hobbes, where you just love these characters, and the comic is sort of like a narrative arc that you follow, even if they're not super connected. They're kind of their overarching story is part of a big piece.
So by way of example, then the Far Side, which does not have reoccurring characters, just reoccurring sort of absurdities. How is that? Is there a name for that? Is there a, to the webcomic gurus, to the comic strip
Far Side
burrs? Yeah, they just call it Far Side. It's its own thing.
Yeah, they're prolific enough that just Far Side.
I I've awkwardly been calling them non-sequential comics.
Right.
Nice.
But I don't. Yeah, that's just kind of like, I don't know if that is a great descriptor for them, but it halfway works. Oftentimes, single panel comics are like that, but I don't do a ton of single panel comics. But I don't know. Just the format is really fun, though. It's funny because I often I'm really of the belief that. Better art will come with when you give yourself restrictions or when you have restrictions that you have to work with. And so sometimes I'll finish a comic and I'm thinking to myself, like, how many restrictions did I give myself here? Or did I just let myself go wild?
Listen to the sounds.
Hunting calls mostly. Animals out for the kill.
Some of them are cries of fear.
You started doing Honey Dill. You were kind of doing it without really knowing where things were landing or if people were watching. Do you have a moment or a story of when a particular comic really landed and got a huge online reaction? And can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's funny. Well, like it happens over and over. To be honest with you, like every time, and this isn't particular to me. I'm sure, like you guys and everybody in this kind of field. Has the same kind of feeling when you get something that gets some sort of recognition, and I don't know if you'll ever get to the point, if I'll ever get to the point, but it always feels like a new thing that you're not necessarily expecting when something gets a little bit out of your reach.
Right.
or if somebody just gives you a response that's just genuine and nice, because especially on the internet, everything is so quick and short and bite-sized that even if someone likes something,
It's like 20 hours, maybe not even 24 hours, and then people moved on
Or on
to
to the next thing.
yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
you expect for the most part, if
It's
somebody's
like
gonna
fool's gold.
It's like
It just glitters for a moment until you uncover it.
There you go, fool's gold. But yeah, like you expect somebody to just say, you know, haha, or, you know, just something kind of surface level. So anytime somebody says something like, anytime somebody goes out of their way to like direct message or just give a response that's not even particular to a comic, but maybe just saying like, I really enjoy your work and it makes my day better or something like that,
Right.
you know, it's just whenever something like that comes across, it's really unexpected and so nice because it's unprompted too, right?
There's sort of a profound moment, I think, in your webcomic where it reached the broadest audience it had in a long time.
Sure.
And that was the mental health all-stars.
that was everywhere. Yeah, that was great.
Like that swept the internet
Yes.
briefly. And while the imagery was funny, I think that the message underneath it was more profound. Do you
Yeah.
want to talk about how you came upon this?
Yes, I will let other people say things like profound and stuff like that in regards to my work because it's embarrassing. But
That speaks to your character that you're embarrassed by your own accomplishments, but
yeah,
people connected to it in a great way. So hold on, for the dear listener's sake, maybe the way to describe this is a single panel comic that visits all of these different characters who represent healthy lifestyle choices in the battle for good mental health.
They're like superheroes.
And they're like superheroes, but they're a little bit derpy, and they're,
Yeah.
you know, you
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of, you root for each one as you see them because you're not sure if they're going to succeed, which is, in a way, all of us.
yeah.
Stuff
See?
like
Profound.
healthy eating, exercise.
Yeah,
friends,
what were some of
family.
the all-stars?
Yeah.
Tell us the all-stars.
So you've got like social activity, sleep routine, humor, those kind of things that are, for the most part, you can debate about a couple of them, but for the most part, it's stuff that's just like free that
Right.
you can kind of seek out in your day-to-day life.
And it's something like, if you put 80s exercise armbands on anything, it becomes funnier. Is that
Oh yeah,
in fact true?
Yes. 80s, even to the extent where it's borderline like 80s wrestling attire. So yeah, like spandex, that
This is
kind of
comedy
thing.
gold is what you're telling me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Good to know. Rival comic coming.
That one was really funny though, because I think as happens with a ton of these kind of comics, you're writing on a schedule and trying to put stuff out on a schedule that you're kind of confident in what you're doing, but at the same time, there's always that moment of like, did I even do a good job communicating this message, or you know, like.
Yeah, how were you worried because the internet is the internet about talking about anything to do with like mental health backlash and people
Yeah,
misinterpreting?
there was a lot of love
your-
for it, but with
Yeah.
every bit of love, there must be some backlash.
Well, that was the
How dare you, sir,
Yeah.
tell me how I should take care of myself?
Yeah, no, that's true. And that's kind of one of the funny things about it is I just, like, to that point, the comic was moderately followed, I guess. And so I kind of made this comic that meant something to me a little bit. Like I originally written down something on the on my whiteboard that just was like battling depression. Like, is there something here, like with the physical act of like fighting or battling depression? And so it kind of like churned for a little while, and then this came out. But there are so many different ways that it could have gone that I was like, what? Am I correctly communicating what I'm trying to get at here? Like at one point I was going to actually draw something that was that represented the void, or like the mental depression or whatever. But it just kind of came together the way that it came together. And I didn't even necessarily anticipate taking any stances or anything about how it was going to be responded to, because I expected like a few hundred people to see it, to be honest with you. Like,
not
that's
thousands and thousands of
yeah.
people.
And if I do something a little bit, like if I make a mistake that I can own up to when a couple hundred people see it, I can be upfront and just be like, oh, well, it's just me doing my thing, and nobody sees it, so it doesn't matter. And that's kind of that's definitely a weird thing to overcome, is just this thought of like, what's it matter? I'm just who I am.
Now you have like a responsibility.
Is there a responsibility that comes with it? Like telling everyone, hey, there's gold in those hills, and then they all show up to dig, and it's just your fool's gold waiting?
People are, listening and...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to see people listening. Yeah, that's a weird thing. So for that comic especially, my thing was I didn't really want to interject my voice with what people were, how people were responding to it, because one of the things that came about was some people had said like, oh, why don't you include medication on this poster? And at first my thought was that's totally valid, and I think there are a bunch of other things on the list that are also valid that don't get on there. Like, you could make a list of 100 different ones. Yeah, exactly. Sure. There's a ton of things that I didn't include, but I didn't necessarily want to interject my voice a ton, because I think the response to it is an important part of the conversation.
Yeah,
like
right.
the fact that people can say, I think that it should go in this direction, is kind of part of the whole point, I guess.
Yeah, if all it accomplished doing, I think it accomplished more than that, but if all it accomplished doing was a few thousand people spend a few days talking about what constitutes good mental health, even the things you left out actually maybe helped fuel that discussion.
Sure, yeah.
In a way that, you didn't intend to, but it wasn't like a declaration by omission, which I think people find. As soon as something becomes viral, like as soon as it's shared by thousands and thousands of people, everyone now wants it to have been perfectly executed, because it must therefore mean this.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing too with, what is it? Some people refer to it to like an on-demand culture, right? Where you can get anything you want whenever you want it. And so your critique for things that you consume takes on this weird kind of level of specificity,
right?
Where you want it to be personal to you, which
doesn't represent me, then I don't want it, because I can build this echo chamber that represents me online.
There's less of a, I guess, communal experience where you're like taking things as they are. People still do that, but it's definitely something that is alive more so now than ever, is just this expectation for something to please you personally.
Oh, every time you touch me, I go out of my mind.
So in Buddhist philosophy, there's this idea of a thing called a tulpa, which is essentially translates to this notion of a thought form, right? And one way to interpret these thought forms, like when you meditate, you should create these tulpas, and these thought forms can, in some people's belief systems, they can perform actions for you, right? And so, MK Ultra program stuff, dug into all this kind of stuff for a while. And this is on my mind because it's research for Midas Institute stuff. But there's this other aspect of the tulpa, which is a thought form that it's a shape that people can fill with their expectations and ideas. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of these viral, funny videos, or these viral, like, sort of potent single images become that for people online. These tulpas, they want it to be their flag, their standard, their thing that means so much more than what it's being shown. And you got to be that for some people.
Hey, yeah, there
right?
you go.
And I think that's a, this is when I say profound, this is what I'm talking about. Like, maybe you didn't intend your funny little 80s wrestling attire mental health heroes to mean that to people. But now that they do, what's your follow-up? Do you have a responsibility to just do what you've been doing, which is not thinking about it that way? Yeah. Or do you have a responsibility to say, okay, I should give people more of what they clearly need.
If you think that way too much, things tend to fall apart.
Yeah, I think probably. I mean, you, Justin, have run up against many viral success stories. That sounded like a medical documentary. That's not how I meant it.
Well, yeah. What's your response when something becomes more popular than you expect, or let's say you do 10 pieces and one of them is just is gangbusters compared to the rest? How do you react to that in terms of like, does it affect your output for future stuff? Do you kind of...
And before you answer, let's keep the answer into the artist's arena, not the, what would make good business. We should always follow up and give people... But let's just, let's be more...
I've got a good answer for this one. I think like whenever I do a particular piece, in my mind, there's 3 other pieces that could go with it. For example, right now I'm working on this huge old god deer, it looks like a big deer god kind of thing, and it's
like a
looking down at this little
pagan
hunter
monster kind of. Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah,
and
pretty cool.
I've just had a lot of fun making it. And if I put it up online and it gets a huge reaction, I've got kind of thumbnailed out on paper and in my mind 3 other kind of old gods versus little people pieces. And in the past, when I've had like a resounding success with any piece, that usually just prompts me to do those other 3 pieces that I had planned along.
So you respond more, you come with a set of things you'd like to do, and you let the audience decide whether it's worth your time.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. How about yourself? How do you do that, Ryan?
Well, it's funny because it can differ, but one example from kind of recently is I did this comic maybe a couple of years ago called The Bad News Bear, about this bear.
Like that one, yeah.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah. He just shows up and tells people stuff they don't want to hear. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, and I really loved that one, and people responded to it as well. But the funny thing with it is I wrote it, and it's the one where somebody at the end is facing like a murder trial, and there's a jury of nothing but bears. And I remember writing that one, and I was really happy that it got a good response, but at the same time I was like, the well is dry with this one. Like I don't know what else to write.
Yeah.
Like the bear is trying to frame this guy for murder. We're like, what else do you do? And so I just kind of left it for a long time, and then...
So it's like the combination of these 2 sides of you, with the character and then the non sequitur suddenly being at odds.
Yes, yeah, for sure. And so it was like a few weeks ago, I finally did another Bad News Bear comic, and it was great. But I just had to overcome that hurdle of like, what is this even now? Like after what direction do I go with it?
So hold on, you brought this up in contrast because it had such a strong response online. Like people saw it a lot, and so it changed how you started to see it.
It didn't change how I started to see it. I guess I was really appreciative. Like I liked that people responded to it, but as far as like, I'm a little bit jealous of what Justin was saying with like having 3 pieces in mind, because like I did not have 3 pieces in mind. I had the one piece in mind, and then I'm thinking about after that a completely different piece. So yeah, just that's the way that one turned out.
So so when you're making up, okay, so I'm going to back this up a little bit and say, we talked about these restrictions that you place on yourself that you find are useful for making new work. What are some of those restrictions? And how are they useful?
For me, there are some super just practical restrictions, which the first of which, making sure that it fits your dimensions that you need it to fit online. Like, for example, Instagram, making sure that it fits the Instagram format, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff.
Physical dimensions, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that goes in a little bit to it, as far as... this is a poor analogy, but I'll equate it to like if you want to get a show on television, let's say it's like a short comedy or something like that, you need to edit it so that it's approximately 21
right-
minutes,
yeah.
and so that commercials can go into it, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you make something that's open-ended, that just continues, has some random length, maybe it'll air on public access.
Right. It's why shows have a cold open, right? Like so many of those dramas, they have that little thing that happens just before the first commercial,
Yeah.
right? There's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a 5-minute little bit where like Mulder and Scully aren't in it. It's just some horrible, latrine creature.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is going on? And just to put the hook in you,
Yes.
right? They show
There's-
the murder and then they solve it after the commercial break.
Yeah, there's a formula to it.
Right.
So
But that's the shape of the shape necessitating the content.
yes, so there's a certain amount of that you just have to accept. Like, there's nothing bad about it. It's just the shape of the whatever piece you're making.
Right.
In my case, the shape of whatever I'm making fits on these social media platforms. So I'm thinking about that first, just to see layout-wise, what can I do to start whatever joke or whatever cartoon I'm making.
Right, because if it's tumbling down, if it's an up and down
Yes.
interaction, it's a different type of punchline than if you're scrolling left to right.
Yeah, and I've been guilty of just writing a comic that's just kind of a joke idea that's super long. Like, you have to scroll through a lot, and it doesn't fit anywhere. Like, on every platform, I'll have to be like, just go check out this link. Goes to something that's way too long for anything, and that's nice to have the freedom to do that. But I guess that's kind of the play between, like, do you want to actually make it for the platforms that you're on, or not? Like, I'll probably still do both for a long time, just because that urge is always there to make something that's wild and expansive and doesn't fit any proper boundaries.
So you also have a specific format. Your 12 by 18 end goal of having art for sale. Does that
Yeah.
change your concept of a piece? Because you have to kind of do it as a done in
wonder
one.
about that every once in a while.
Yeah.
I like I usually have 12 by 18 either vertical or horizontal layouts, which is kind of a standard, whatever that ratio is kind of like a standard one, I feel.
Which for us is good to have at shows because it's easy to frame.
Yeah.
People can find frames so that the end point of it being on your wall is easy to achieve.
Yeah.
Right?
But every once in a while, like, I kind of break that mold and have like a really long piece or whatever, and yeah.
You just let whim and fancy dictate such things.
I try not to, play by that rule. If the inspiration hits that this will work really well as one long piece, I'll follow that.
Very good. We have done well, Nadia.
I am pleased, Princess. You are satisfied.
So when I always thought about doing webcomics, in my mind, the end goal was to get such a threshold of material that you're going to print it into a book.
Yes.
Like, have, you're doing all these non-sequential panels, but eventually you'll have like the Far Side book at the end of it kind of thing.
Yeah, because the old model of revenue was you would serialize it in the newspapers. The papers would pay you something, and then if you were lucky, a publisher, a pittance. Well, no, you could get a pretty great living.
They would pay you a yearly salary that was living.
Yeah,
was a
but
living salary.
those days are over now. So, right, you used to get some money from the newspapers, who would then, what's that called?
A pittance.
Syndication. Thank you, Dan, for knowing the real words. It's almost like you teach at an institution that does these things. So syndication would lead maybe to publication. Publication would then give you a little bit of long tail on the comet, some longevity in your work. But all of that is burned down, and we're in the future now.
Yeah.
So how do you make money? How can you possibly do this full time?
An interesting question. And that, I was talking to somebody about this the other day. That even changes depending on, like, when the kind of crater that happened with newsprint happened around 2000s. That atmosphere that webcomic artists came into is already over. Like, it's already whatever webcomics were 10 years ago. However you made money on it then is already different now. And it will continue to be different. like a lot of the web comics that I read when I was younger, they got a fair amount of money from, say, like advertising on their website.
Like click-through advertising.
Yeah, click-through advertising. There were fewer of them at the time, so it was easier for a good webcomic to get like a huge following. And now there are so many more different kind of smaller but interesting opportunities for monetization. One of them that everybody is on right now is Patreon. So that is totally dependent on your following and how, I guess, engaged they are with you as a person and an entity that they just want to see
So
do
as a
well.
person who is terrible at Patreon,
Originally, this podcast was directly tied to some kind of Patreon.
Well, no. What happened is I had built up this branding idea for my Super Pulp Science magazine. And then since I had that already and someone was like, you should try a Patreon, I was like, oh, well, I could use all this for that too. And then I'd have a podcast that connects to the Patreon that connects to a print thing, and wouldn't that be grand? And then a giant publishing opportunity landed in my lap, which overruled all those hours. Like, we're talking about the restrictions that you have in life. Some of those restrictions are the simple hours you have to work. So
Sure.
I endeavored this year to be much better at feeding things to I have 11 patrons or something. I'm sorry, patrons, if you're listening.
Well, I'll go ahead and say myself that I'm terrible at Patreon. So it'll be two terrible people giving each other advice.
The name of our new podcast.
That's great. Yeah, no, the way that I do it is a little bit different. A lot of people will do kind of the tiered, what do you call them? Like the tiered support levels, where you get different kind of perks for being a supporter or being a patron. For mine, I like that idea, but I was a little bit nervous about having so many different things that were funneling through the Patreon, like worrying about, okay, at this level, I'm going to have to hand draw some things and send them out. And at this level, like, people get a discount on whatever.
Yeah, like every project suddenly has 12 different versions at the end of it that you need to pump out.
Yeah, which is what you cautioned me when I was like, I'm going to start a Patreon. And you're like, don't do it, because you're going to have to do all these things. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You also have 11 patrons.
Exactly.
Oh, this is amazing.
Yeah,
we're the same. We're the same at being bad at Patreon.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I opened it up maybe a month and a half ago or so, and I need to be better about promoting it, but I'm also I want to build up the library of stuff that's in there so that people have like that value of signing up for it right away, where they can see a bunch of...
Yeah, my reluctance, I guess, about Patreon comes from this notion that you're paying for a promise.
Yeah.
And I mean, it works. Some people fulfill those promises expertly, and Patreon is amazing for them and for their backers. And this is not me saying Patreon is bad. This is me saying that my use of the tool isn't good, I think, because I produce work sort of in these gluts. Like, I'll produce a giant amount of work, and then I need to like sort of be fallow for a little while. Yeah. So I can't just drip it into the Patreon the way that Patreon works best.
Or if you do, it does take extra effort to, like, if you're working on a long project, like, stop for a little bit each day and document whatever you're doing.
It feels like a never-ending Kickstarter.
Yeah.
Like, you're always having to feed your supporters.
And yet, as a freelancer, where you're constantly, basically every day as a freelancer is another day for a job interview.
Sure.
Where you're fine, like, I'm fine to do that.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I'm not fine to do it that way on Patreon. And I don't know why. It's a block for me. I don't know.
I get it.
Help me, guys.
No, I get it. And
and
for a similar reason, what I did with mine is I just made it so, listen, whatever you get, like whatever the perks are for my Patreon, whether it's you get extra sketches, you get some comics that don't see the light of day, whatever it is that I post there, you get it at any tier level. So whatever
you want, whatever you're willing to give.
Yeah, whatever you're willing to give, you'll get access to this feed and I'm just going to put up there whatever works. Like, I'm going to try and do a good job to put a lot of stuff you wouldn't otherwise get on another platform. But
So yours is actually the best deal on Patreon.
yeah, maybe.
So, ladies and gentlemen, do check out Honey Dill on Patreon. Let's see if we can get you that 12th or 13th. Okay, but we're talking about ways you get revenue. You're doing this full time. You're not doing it off of 11 patrons on Patreon.
No. Okay, so some other ways that you can make money. Open a storefront if you have stuff that you can make into merchandise, whether it's posters, shirts, books, stickers, whatever. If you've gotten to that,
Have gotten into pins yet?
Yeah.
There you go.
See what you can do opening a storefront, because the larger your audience is, the more likely people will want to actually own something of yours, because they get to own it and they get to support you. And certainly for longer, or for readers who have been with you for a while, that makes a lot of sense to them. Even for people who haven't been with you for a while, if there is one particular piece that you have that just speaks to them, it's similar to if they were to walk up to you at a show and they see that piece. Sometimes it doesn't matter who you are.
Right. Or like people's favorite single on an album, right? They'll never listen to the rest of the album. They just want that one thing.
So that's a good one. If you can build up your audience to that level and actually have something available at all times for them to purchase off you and support you in that way, that is a great way to go about it. Another thing that I think, or at least in my opinion, webcomics are more and more becoming, is kind of a stage for the artist. I'll use another super broken, crummy analogy. It's similar to me.
Just two horrible people giving each other advice.
Yeah,
on our new
bad
episode.
advice. Yeah. It's similar to me to something like stand-up comedy, where there's not as many. There are a ton of comedians, but not a ton of comedians who are going to say, "I'm going to be a super, super successful stand-up comedian." Because there aren't that many super successful stand-up comedians, but stand-up comedy is the art that they're kind of trading on.
Right.
But what they're doing is they're using it to get out there, build their skills, put their name out there. So similarly in webcomics, it's great. Like, you can be a writer, you can get your stuff out there, you can put out books, and hopefully if you've got a good readership, those books will sell. But something that isn't necessarily, like, something that you don't monetize but is very valuable, is just getting your name out there.
Taking
so that
the stage. You take the stage, you practice your craft in front of an audience.
Yeah. So that you can
when a joke lands, you do.
Yeah.
You think about why.
Yeah, so you can hopefully do other things. You don't necessarily always want to do work that is related to this one particular thing that you do. So I would love to, down the road, get involved with maybe making a couple of like children's books or something like that. Not directly related, but some people might know my name because of this other work.
So when you pivot into that, you have this built-in audience.
Well, that's what you did.
That's what I'm doing.
Let's put the spotlight back on Justin. That's what you're doing right now, right? You're known for, online, you're known for a different thing than making kids' books, but the kids' books.
That was always the plan. I think I stole this from Scott Campbell, maybe. I'd heard his kind of strategy was he did like 7 years of conventions, like nonstop. He did every single convention that popped up, and this was in the early days of conventions. And at the end of that 7 years, he'd had enough of a following through Marvel, and now he had gone to like this, he'd just done this huge tour. Then he was able to step back, and basically every book or every project that he pumped out, he had this huge audience.
He had done the groundwork, touring.
Ready for it.
Yeah, we're back to being a stand-up comedian or like a band again in our analogy, right? You got a tour, build up your audience, and then when you put out the album or the book or the whatever, people show up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's a way that
or snake oil salesman also do the same thing.
There you go. Right? Going from town to town.
Town to town, right?
Do you ever repeat customers
with your ointments?
Well, that's the trick. Is that hopefully we're not selling things that people will be mad about later, so we can't return to their town.
Right. Although sometimes, right? Sometimes I'm sure that's true.
I've only ticked off like one person.
Just one?
Just one.
If you're listening, person who Justin has made.
I sold a couple prints to, I believe it was a couple in Montreal, and I think they bought 4 pieces, and I accidentally gave them, instead of a Ghostbusters print, I gave them like an Aliens print or something like that. So after the show, they emailed me and said, like, you gave us one of the wrong prints. I'd still like the Ghostbusters print. And I have yet to ship that off to them.
Monster.
I know, I feel horrible. This was like in July too. So.
I sympathize. It's tough. Like when you're in person, you kind of want that to be like a closed off experience. You know,
it's done now. Yes.
Yeah.
And then and then they find you.
How do you know where I live?
I saw you on the street and followed you.
You guys are both, this is better for you because I'm not at that level online at all.
Gregory says, as I look over at the table to 140 books that he needs to ship off.
No, that's different. Because that's a physical thing. Like people know what they're getting and they can read a little about it. They can read a review about it all through third parties and then decide, yes, I want that. And then they come to the point of sale and they get it. What I'm talking about with you guys, right, is this kind of like surface tension that you have to maintain with your online presence, right? Where you constantly, like, you're always uploading stuff. I'm gesturing madly at both of them, but if this was a TV interview, it'd look really great. And
have to be wearing pants for that, though.
Yeah. Whew.
Yeah. Just
don't need it here.
Yeah.
Just a couple of guys giving bad advice without pants. How do you...
The podcast keeps evolving.
That's a good idea. It keeps evolving, right? You got to put it on the whiteboard. No, what I'm saying is you guys have the surface tension you're trying to maintain. Do you ever just, like, get tired of people being able to reach you in all of these different arenas?
Do you feel like people can reach you?
I feel like there's a lot of emails that I should reply to that I just kind of leave. My Facebook pages has this horrible thing. It guilts you. As soon as you log into your page, it shows your response rate and how long it usually takes you. So if you have a crappy response rate, it's like you reply to like 50% of messages and it takes you like 4 days. Like, that's not great.
I was just on somebody else's Facebook page. I feel like it was yesterday, and I saw Facebook was telling me what their response rate was.
What? I hope. Yeah. I don't want other people to see that.
Oh, no, I can see people's response rates.
Oh, no.
Yeah, everyone can see that.
Crap.
You thought that was just a secret?
I was kind of hoping that was just a me thing. I didn't realize.
No, everyone. They shame everyone.
It's not going to change things. I don't think I should have to, like, I'm not in this to, like, reply to every, like, if I take time to do that all the time, I'm going to take less time to make artwork and pump out the reason that people follow me. And I hope most people understand that.
I have the same experience on Facebook right now as I used to have on MySpace before I stopped using MySpace. Right? Like, I was just...
What was your song that played with...
No, I never. I took it. I didn't have
Oh, my God. That used to be the internet, right? Like, everything that you went to could possibly play a song that you don't want.
Yeah, that you don't want. But what I'm saying is that as an online space... Yeah. That space is my least favorite to visit, and I don't get any joy when I go there. And it's mostly targeted ads that come at me when I'm there because I'm not on enough. Like, their algorithm is that, like, if you're constantly interacting with your friend group, then that's who you see. But if you're not constantly interacting all the time with your friend group, because I don't have the app on my phone, then all you see is the ads that are waiting for you when you arrive, and it's becoming very exhausting.
Yeah.
So this has become about me again. I didn't mean that. I want to know about you guys. Stop deflecting this. How do you deal with being reachable so much? You're out there. You're way out there.
I don't know. I don't feel like I am super reachable still. I will reply to people, and sometimes it takes a while, especially if it's not necessarily urgent, but somebody just wants to say something.
Isn't the currency of social media interactivity? And if you don't do it...
If you replied immediately, though, then that would like kind of tarnish the prestige of like this mysterious webcomic guy that's too important to reply right away.
Yeah, but see, well, so you're talking about these books. So, like, you know, when I'm doing the work with the baby metal fans and the baby metal community, the way they reached out to me, and so the way I responded was then on Twitter. I found myself using Twitter way more than I have in years as a result of getting these messages. But there's this arm's length. It almost feels safe somehow.
Yeah.
There, I mean, they can, you know, people can find my email if they dig hard enough, but they want to have that conversation in public more on that. And I don't mind it.
I worry, to a certain extent, like you can spend all day just wasting time. And in a way that makes you feel like you're working. It's very close to work.
Yeah.
But it's more so just observation.
Yeah.
Like if you're just checking Twitter, like whatever online. And sometimes I don't want to be super interactive on every platform because you get that feeling.
Oh, I worked so hard today. I responded to 150 people, but I didn't actually do
didn't add anything to your portfolio.
Exactly. Yeah. You didn't actually do the work that this whole thing exists for.
Right.
So yeah, it's crazy how much time that stuff can take out of your day. So yeah, I guess it's trying to be as good as you can about it, but
is it getting to the point where it'll just be like TV soon, where there'll just be people who make content, but you can't reach them, and you just tune in to watch content unfold?
Yeah. Well, it will be interesting to see where it goes because it changes. It changes all the time. It changes every year. I'm still trying to figure out if there's anything that I want to do with this new Instagram TV.
Yeah, I've seen
section.
it a few times. Yeah. I think about that too, but I don't. Short of giving them direct access to my everyday life, which I don't want to do.
Yeah,
right. It's really boring. Nobody wants to see it.
Yeah, also true. But no, but because
but, yeah,
you know, you need time away from people to do your own thing.
Yeah, that's
away from an audience. You need time with people, but you need to be away from an audience.
That's the interesting thing about, I guess, being online in this way where people want to share your experience, but I mean, I don't know, sometimes you feel like your experience is just pretty dull, right? Like it's
it's totally true. Yeah,
it's exciting to you because you are doing it, you get to do it.
Yeah,
but sometimes if I don't post a picture, say like on my personal Instagram or something like that, of just the way I'm living my life, it's kind of this weird feeling of like I'm enjoying what I do, but I don't want to share too much because it's just, I don't know, most of the time it would be pictures of my office.
Yeah, you want to be almost like kind of precious with their time too, it feels like I don't.
But then isn't that just a lie? Aren't we just...
Oh, I wouldn't lie about it. I would say you're not seeing this because it's boring.
Yeah, this notion that we have to only show these like interesting things because that's what people want to see, but then that's not very social because it's not honest.
That's true.
Right? But then that comes back around to these flags, these tulpas, these web comic like platforms where I don't go to see web comics that I find funny because I want to know what you had for breakfast. I just want the joke. Right.
And some people are like that too. Like I'm a fan of a few webcomics online where if you follow any of their accounts, you can barely get any personal details or find much out about that person. And that's one way to go about it. Yeah.
And there's other people that, it's very much a personal and a professional. Here's my artwork. Here's what I had for breakfast. Here's me. Doing this, doing that with my family.
And some people like watching that.
Yeah.
Right.
For the people who it works for, it's a two-way street, right? Like they get something back from it because there is like not a 24/7, but like interactivity that is going like every day almost. But that's too exhausting. It just sounds exhausting.
Are you really ready to stop loving me?
I'll need you even when no emotion exists.
Okay, so then for the dear listener who has heard that you have left your day job for the glamorous life of being a webcomics, we don't want them to think there's gold in them there hills. We want them to know that the practical aspect here is you need multiple streams of income. You need to make work on a regular schedule. You need to keep to that schedule and not fall down the hole of the internet. And you need to, what else?
Oh, and you need to probably still work other jobs.
Right. So you do freelance work on the side.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And actually, I can't recall if this was even intentional, but I did the thing that people say is the smart thing when you're going to be venturing into freelance, which is have it in mind for maybe a couple of years before you do it, and work your full-time job kind of preparing for it.
Yeah.
And you can even do it while you're at your full-time job with the notion that at some point you're going to make that leap. And so getting yourself personally and financially ready for when you make the launch.
Like someone I knew when I was teaching, they volunteered for every committee. They volunteered to sit on every council. They volunteered to do every parent. And I was just like, what? Why do you do this? And they said, I'm practicing because I want to go into politics. So this is a way that I can be better at my job and be practicing.
Yeah.
Right?
So we all have it in our mind that just one day you quit in a huff and then you start from scratch this like new freelance or new company or whatever.
That's the fool's gold of it, right? It sparkles, so you think that's enough.
That's how it's portrayed in movies and TV, and I think a lot of us grow up think that's kind of how it works.
Yeah, but that's not how it works.
Nope.
No, it takes a lot of time. Like even if you're super good at something right out of the gate, it's still going to take a lot of time just for like, it kind of reminds me of, I think it's the Grammys that have like this new artist award. And almost every year the joke is like, it's an artist that people have known about for years and years, right? Like I think like if Arcade Fire won it one year and we're like, oh, okay, well like 5 years ago, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of what it feels like doing any kind of freelance thing. It's like people will consider you new 3 years from when you start.
Right. Yeah, absolutely true. Yeah, that's happening to me right now. People are like, ooh, this
new emerging
this new comics guy. Oh, he's so neat. I haven't heard of him before, and it's just because I have the equivalent of the All Stars poster, right? Like people have finally seen it widely for the first time, my work, and are coming back to say, hey, what else does this guy have? Yeah. And they don't like all of it. That's the other thing, right? But people, I think, have this notion that if you get into the creative life, like you said, that this spark will just light a fire and the fire will just rage and, oh, you've been reborn in the forge of this new life. As opposed to if you want to earn like a doctor, you have to work like a doctor.
It takes more than just a montage to a catchy 80s tune.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've tried so many times just to force that montage. just put music on really loud in the background.
Punch a few things, run up some stairs, put on a headband, and then you hope your life is new again. Yeah. But it just doesn't work, right? You have to work at it, and it takes time. And people want to graduate. Like they forget that if you go to school, it can take years and years to graduate into your profession. And they want to leave one profession to go into another. Well, you have to graduate into it.
Yeah.
Right? Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, I think so. Like,
what did your graduation day look like then?
I don't know. What did I don't know if I would put a graduation date on it, It's just...
Is it still coming, do you think?
Maybe. But it always changes. Whenever your date is and something happens, it'll move to another date. That's the thrill of the demystification of whatever you do, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah. So, having a book in every Barnes and Noble in America does not ensure that you'll ever have one again, right?
Right. And it's that thing of if you're going to be excited about whatever your goal is. Let's say you think your goal is like 2 years away, and you're really excited about like a book in a major store. Yeah. And then by the time 2 years rolls around and you've got it in there, you've just gotten so much closer to that goal that it seems like it makes sense. Right. Like 2 years before, it would have been so exciting because it barely makes sense. Like,
well, and if it takes 2 years to get a book into a major store chain, then at the 1 year mark towards that goal, it's happening. And now it's just the labor of making it happen. Sure. The decision's made, so it's happening. Yeah. So you have to set a new goal. Yeah. Because getting it into the stores isn't enough. That's a foregone conclusion at a certain point. So you just have to be on to your next thing.
Yeah.
right? And hope that it will work.
You got to keep chasing those projects.
Keep chasing those projects. Yes, great product placement there. Chasing artwork.
Brand awareness.
God damn it! I need a logo. Well, this has been Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made, where we've talked about how you can make your thoughts into reality. Look up tulpas; they're great. But before you do that, look up honey dill.
Can you make honey dill sauce and sell it, like branded honey dill sauce?
I have had a couple people ask me about that, and
a few terrible people giving each other bad advice without hands.
Well, yeah, that'll be my next goal. Where like 2 years from now, I'll have like sauce. And that'll be the thing
comic on the back of each
oh my
sauce
goodness
container. But the sauce containers have to be small, so you get a different comic experience every time as they run out on purpose.
It's perfect,
right?
Yeah.
Except for the environmental impact of all of those small containers, it's a great idea.
Well, okay, so I'll need to do glass.
Yeah.
I'll need them to return the jars
to you.
I have to figure out this infrastructure.
Yeah. Tune in next year on Super Pulp Science, where we will bring back Ryan Harvey of I Am Honey Dill and his sauce empire. This has been Super Pulp Science, where we talk about how genre gets made, and we're having trouble ending this episode. So I will just say, join the fight and make comics.